Good morning. This is my first time, so I will take it slow. Okay. My curiosity about Her Majesty and Piyavara started when I began working at the Queen Sirikit Museum of Textiles as a curator. I had a chance to access Her Majesty's wardrobe and found many dresses with Balmain labels, and I wondered why Her Majesty chose Balmain. This is what I discovered. The relationship started as a result of a series of state visits in 1960 to the United States and 15 European nations to introduce Their Majesty as the young constitutional monarchs of a modern Thailand. To an international audience, the tour lasted 7 months. As Her Majesty wrote in her memoirs, she sought the advice of many ambassadors' wives about what she should wear, but as the Queen of Thailand, the First Lady of the country, and one who represented Thai women, she had different needs from ambassadors' wives. Finally, in the end, Her Majesty had to decide for herself what she should wear. Afterward, Her Majesty recalled these trips were very important and were to take many months to complete. The preparation of clothing was very important for women and especially for myself. She decided to wear both Thai and Western style. During the trip, her development of Thai national dress had the assistance of Urai Luamlung, her couturier for many years. For her Western clothing, the Thai government proposed Christian Dior, that perhaps the most famous couturier in Paris at the time, be selected. His Majesty thanked the government for their concern, but assured them that there was no need for them to interest themselves in such a minor matter. He preferred to take care of it himself. Balmain was the right place at the right time. By coincidence, he had stopped in Thailand after a trip to Australia in the spring 1959. Her Majesty's memoir mentions that the news spread in Bangkok that a well-known French designer was visiting Bangkok, and it was Urai Luamlung who suggested to Her Majesty that Piyavara would be invited to discuss the possibility in this making her Western clothes for the tour. This was really working with wool and fur, and making coats, gloves, and hats was beyond the conception and capabilities of Thai dressmaker at the time. Balmain was in fact a perfect choice and a good fit for Her Majesty, better than Dior would have been. Christian Dior and Piyavara had both worked for the couturier Lucien Levant during the World War II, and their styles were quite similar. However, Christian Dior has passed away in 1957, and design duties had been taken over by Yves Saint Laurent. Saint Laurent was very young, only 23, in 1959, and he began to explore street style, aiming at youthful markets. Although Her Majesty herself was only 27, her clothes needs to be designed with her role as a queen and as a representative of her country in mind. Balmain had had prior experience designing for royal women, and that may be one of the reasons that Her Majesty preferred him. Balmain stated that after a return to Paris, I received a letter bearing the coat of arms of the Royal Palace of Thailand. A high official told me that the Queen wished to order dresses. The memoir goes on to say, from the first moment, her extreme kindness and youthful charm gave me confidence and put me at ease. I was therefore able to take my time in showing her the materials I had brought with me and discussing the points that interested her. Her Majesty memoirs stated our visits to extend over many months, from summer and autumn through the winter with its snow. It was therefore necessary to have clothes for every season and for every occasion as well. Furthermore, from Balmain's memoir, the king told me how interested he has been to hear of the discussions I had with the queen. He said he was fully in favor of the simple and clutter style that I had proposed, and ended by giving me full responsibility for the royal wardrobe. Working together, the designer and the Queen consciously transformed Her Majesty's appearance from that of a young woman not far beyond her teens into the sophisticated queen of a modern country. As Balmain mentioned in his memoirs, in my work for Queen Sirikit, I kept in mind certain fundamental considerations. A queen's wardrobe would go with her into her country's history. All her activities, her public appearances, are surely to be recorded by the camera. And it is these photographs that future historians will consult. Her dresses must bear the stamp of enduring elegance and guard against the risk of becoming antiquated. The Queen must also appear always before her people or foreigners in the way that they expect to see her. This means that her clothes have to have a simplifying line and present a silhouette that is always identifiable, because she will have to remain motionless at the side of the king during certain official ceremonies. So these are the films from 1962 that I'm showing you. Okay. The fact that she is also obliged to wear rich jewelry makes it imperative that her clothes also carry the stamp of luxurious simplicity. I consider myself very unfortunate to have merited the confidence of one of the most beautiful, most elegant, and kindest queen of our time. Balmain also mentioned that Her Majesty asked him to invite the hairdresser, Alexander, to Bangkok. This meant that Her Majesty was not only concerned about her dress, but her total look. Her Majesty told me that Balmain was not only her designer, but also her stylist. They consulted with each other on what she should wear and what hairstyles and accessories would go best with each dress. Balmain, in his turn, learned about Thai silk from Her Majesty, who had a lot of expertise on the subject. He brought a lot of Thai silk back with him to Paris and used it for his collection. As you saw at the museum on Thursday, Her Majesty also created a new Thai national dress for the 1960 World Tour. Her Majesty developed it with her research team and her Thai couturier. At first, Balmain was not involved, but Her Majesty continued to wear Thai national dress after the tour was over, and Balmain began to make those dresses as well. That brought new patterning and styling to the form that Balmain worked with the Parisian embroiderer House of Versace to combine European materials and techniques that would go very well with Thai embroidery. The combination of Balmain's sophisticated wardrobe and Her Majesty's youthful beauty led to her becoming even better known internationally than the tour had made her. She was named to the International Best Dress list in 1960. She appeared on the list repeatedly in the early 1960s and headed it in the 1965. The first Asian woman to do so. The wide service photo commemorating the event was widely circulated in the United States. This example came from the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania press. Additionally, Gina Whelan, then editor of Vogue, was impressed enough by Her Majesty's visit to New York in 1960 to create several Vogue features around her, photographs by Horace P. Horse and Henry Clark. In 1964, Whelan wrote to James Thompson, the American president of Thai Silk Company in Bangkok, that she would like to photograph Her Majesty. She stated in the letter, "I admire her extravagantly, as does everyone who sees her. Everyone who sees her pictures. She is such a delicious, feminine creature, with such an elegance and such exquisite hand and beauty." Thompson replied promptly that through the Queen's dressmaker that Her Majesty would like to be photographed. Vreeland also mentioned that she wanted to capture the particular essence of Pierre Balmain's design, and so Pierre was present during the shoot. Balmain and Her Majesty enjoyed a fruitful, mutually beneficial collaboration until his death in 1982. His successor was Erik Mortensen, his personal assistant since 1951, and his closest collaboration who maintained the house traditionally, while developing and updating its styles and designs in the spirits of its founder. Her Majesty got to know Mortensen while Balmain was still alive, and trusted him to design appropriately for her. The success of this new design relationship is apparent from the dresses Mortensen designed for Her Majesty during a trip to the United States in 1985. Her Majesty admired and has used Thai silk since long before she becomes queen, so it must have seemed perfectly logical to her to persuade people to weave for extra income and then wear those textiles. This dress is an example of an elegant ball gown made from Thai village silk. Her Majesty's 30-year relationship with the House of Balmain ended when Erik Mortensen left the House of Balmain in 1993. Her Majesty royally followed him to Chongori Chalet, where he worked until shortly before his death. Mortensen also came to Thailand during this period to work with Her Majesty privately, and it was at this time that Tirapan Vanarat, the couturier who has worked and designed for Her Majesty since 1990, met and worked with him. So I will pass this talk to Tirapan Vanarat and let him talk about his experiences with Erik Mortensen and how Balmain designs affected Thai designer. Thank you.
Good morning to you all. I'm Tirapan. It is my highest honor to serve as a couturier for Her Majesty Queen Sirikit for more than 20 years. 15 years ago, I have had the pleasure to work with